Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want you to imagine that you get home from work tomorrow and you decide that you just don't want to pay your mortgage. So you call your bank and you share the good news. Now the bank at that point explains that if you don't, you're looking at eviction. So you propose a counteroffer because you're a clever fellow. I'll pay my mortgage, but only if my family stops using hot water and stops going to the doctor. At which point the bank says, you, sir, are a moron. And yet that is what is happening in the House this week. The United States government has already agreed to buy a house. We're already living in the house. We took out a loan to pay for the house, but the Republicans want to stop making the mortgage payments unless the American people agree to skimp on health care and basic services. Now, I would remind everybody in this body that it is Congress that has the power of the purse. Every dollar of government spending and every dollar of government revenue was approved on this floor by this body. If the expenses exceed the revenues, then we borrow to make up the difference. We made those choices. Now, you all may not like every dollar that we've approved. I certainly don't. I also don't agree with every dollar my wife has ever spent, and she doesn't agree with every dollar that I've ever spent. But we get by because my wife and I are functioning adults. That would appear to be too high a bar for this body. So the majority today is bringing a package to the floor that, according to Moody's Analytics, will, and I quote, meaningfully increase the likelihood of a recession. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the only way that the Speaker can keep his job. If Speaker McCarthy brought a clean debt limit bill to the floor of the House tomorrow, he would get every single Democratic vote. And I'm sure a few of my colleagues across the aisle would join in. It'd pass the Senate. President Biden would sign it. That would be that. We would move on to the important work of this country. But as all of us know who spent a long late night here after 14 failed efforts to win the speakership, Mr. McCarthy caved to the extremists in his own party and agreed to conditions where he loses his job if he does not try to blow up the economy. He has the opportunity today to do the right thing. He simply doesn't have the ability. And so, the House is now preparing to vote on a bill that would be disastrous for Americans. Let's be clear, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we will see collapses in global financial markets. We will default on our debt, which means interest rates go up, which means everything you have that has an interest rate tied to it gets more expensive. Your mortgage, your car payment, your student loan, your credit card payments, all those things start going up. The majority is hoping that the adults in the room will prevail and that the adults will be so frightened by that consequence that we will accept their self-destructive alternative. The alternative is a bill that would slash non-defense discretionary spending by 22%. Just in my home state of Illinois, let's talk about what that means. That means 8 air traffic control centers in Illinois. Home of O'Hare Airport, hub, 8 air traffic control centers shut down. In the wake of East Palestine, the train crash, just in Illinois, we will do 420 fewer rail inspections. 2,900 students in Illinois will lose their Pell Grants. Several hundred thousand will see their Pell Grants cut. 10,000 kids will lose pre-K and child care. 53,000 veterans will lose outpatient services. That's just in Illinois. Nationally, a cleaner, cheaper future will be thrown away. And white-collar police will be defunded to make it easier for everybody to commit tax fraud, which of course will lower future revenues and make it necessary for us to borrow more money. The majority would have us believe that our only choice right now is, do we want to blow up the economy or do we want to ruin the lives of millions of Americans? That's not the only choice. We have a third option. The third option is we can let the adults come back in the room. We can take our jobs seriously. We can pass a clean debt limit bill. Look, governing is hard, but it is especially hard when you let the clowns drive the car. Please, Mr. Speaker, let the adults take the wheel. I yield back.